You think manipulation is easy to recognize. You think it looks like pressure, like demands, like control wrapped in anger. But the most dangerous manipulation doesn't attack your boundaries, it dissolves them. It seeps into your perception, into your guilt, into your need to feel like a good man. It hides inside kindness. It smiles while it edits you. It begins with admiration. That's how every sophisticated manipulator enters. She studies you like a language. Every gesture, every insecurity, every unspoken dream. She mirrors it perfectly. You feel seen, understood, almost discovered. She tells you, "I've never met a man like you." You believe her. And that's how the programming starts. The moment she makes you feel special, your defenses drop. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are, how rational, no mind resists emotional anesthesia. Compliments numb judgment. Validation blinds logic. You don't realize you're being conditioned because it feels like connection. She rewards your sensitivity. She praises your empathy. She feeds your ego with precision doses of affirmation. Every time you behave in a way that aligns with her hidden agenda, you get warmth. Every time you assert your individuality, the warmth disappears. Not dramatically, subtly. A little silence here, a smaller smile there, less affection, less enthusiasm. Your subconscious starts associating peace with obedience. You are not in love, you are in training. A man's natural instinct is to protect. She uses that instinct as the foundation for her control. She teaches you that her emotional stability is your responsibility. You start managing her moods, filtering your words, predicting reactions before they happen. You call it love, but it's surveillance. You are constantly scanning the emotional weather, trying to prevent the next storm. This is the genius of the manipulation. It never feels hostile. It feels moral. She doesn't say, "Do what I want." She says, "If you cared, you'd understand." It's not domination, it's guilt repackaged as empathy. And you, wanting to prove your goodness, comply. Not because she forced you, because you can't stand feeling like the bad guy in your own story. Every manipulative woman understands this law of male psychology. Men don't fear conflict, they fear being seen as unloving. So she weaponizes compassion. She crafts her hurt into a tool. Her disappointment becomes a leash. You try to avoid it, not realizing that avoidance is obedience. The process is slow, elegant, invisible. She doesn't change you overnight. She changes you through 1,000 micro-adjustments. A sigh when you mention your friends. Pause when you say no. A smile when you compromise. You learn her emotional code until your behavior naturally aligns with it. You'll tell yourself you're just growing, that you're becoming more mature, more emotionally aware, more considerate. But there's a difference between emotional growth and emotional captivity. Growth expands your freedom. Captivity makes you afraid of using it. The truly advanced manipulator doesn't even think of herself as one. She believes she's just expressing her feelings. But feelings can be commands when used strategically. "I just feel hurt when you do that" means, "Stop doing that or I'll make you feel guilty again." Every emotion becomes a lever that moves your behavior without visible pressure. There's a moment, it always comes quietly, when you realize that peace only exists when you conform. When you stop doing what you want and start doing what prevents her displeasure. That's when you've been fully reprogrammed. You're no longer a man choosing. You're a man managing. Notice the linguistic traps she uses. "You're not like other men." Translation, "Act differently from them or lose my approval." "You're so understanding." Translation, "Don't challenge me. You're such a good guy." Translation, "Stay compliant, stay predictable, stay safe." Each compliment defines the borders of acceptable masculinity. Each praise shapes your future responses. And then she'll add another layer, moral manipulation. She turns personal desires into moral duties. "If you really loved me, you'd stay. If you were loyal, you'd understand." Refusal becomes proof of emotional immaturity. You're not just disagreeing, you're failing her. You stop defending your perspective because it's easier to doubt yourself than to disappoint her. The emotional control is reinforced through rhythm. Reward, withdrawal. Reward, withdrawal. Each cycle deepens your addiction. You live for the next approval hit, the next sign of warmth. When it comes, your nervous system floods with relief. That's not love, that's biochemical submission. Over months, maybe years, you forget where her influence ends and where your thoughts begin. You stop making independent choices. You start anticipating expectations. Your language changes. You say, "We decided," even when it was only her idea. You say, "She wouldn't like that," as if her disapproval is a moral law. You say, "It's just easier this way," without realizing what "this way" costs you. You think manipulation requires intent. It doesn't. It only requires insecurity. Insecure women control to feel safe. They steer emotions to avoid abandonment. But whether she's conscious or not doesn't matter. The result is the same. You're managed by fear and reward. The worst part? You'll defend it. You'll call it love. You'll tell yourself she's just emotional. You'll tell your friends they don't understand her. Because the first rule of manipulation is silence. You protect the person who controls you because admitting the truth would mean admitting you've lost yourself. And society won't help you. Culture glorifies emotional obedience. Happy wife, happy life. You're taught that peace is a man's duty and discomfort is a woman's right. So when you finally sense the imbalance, you doubt your own perception. You tell yourself, this is just how relationships are. No, it's not. This is how control hides in empathy. But there's always a moment when the fog thins. When you feel the exhaustion more than the affection. When you start missing your own voice. You begin to wonder who you were before her moods became your compass. And that's the moment awareness begins. The first step isn't confrontation, it's observation. Watch the emotional patterns without reacting. Note the timing of affection, the phrases that trigger guilt, the shifts in tone before requests. You'll start to see a system. And once you see the system, it loses power. Because the truth is this. You cannot be manipulated without your participation. Every technique requires your emotional investment. If you stop chasing validation, the program crashes. If you stop fearing disapproval, the strings fall off. If you stop confusing peace with safety, you reclaim your freedom. The most effective manipulation ever created works because it convinces you it's love. But love doesn't demand self-erasure. Love doesn't need control. Love doesn't punish individuality. So stay alert. Not paranoid, conscious. Observe the patterns. Guard your emotional sovereignty like your life depends on it. Because, in a way, it does. The moment you start doubting your perception, the control deepens. Because manipulation doesn't thrive in confrontation. It thrives in confusion. You start thinking, maybe I'm too sensitive, or maybe I overreacted. That's not humility. That's programming. You're learning to override your instincts to protect her comfort. The more self-aware you think you're becoming, the more self-censored you actually are. Let's talk about emotional guilt, the favorite weapon of refined control. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It hides inside soft phrases like, I just didn't expect this from you. Or, I guess I was wrong about how much you care. They sound harmless. But those words carry a virus. They infect your conscience with a need to prove yourself. You rush to fix, to apologize, to restore harmony, not because you did something wrong but because you can't stand the discomfort of her disappointment. That's how she wins, not through force but through your addiction to peace. She's not controlling you with rules, she's controlling you with emotional consequences. No punishments. No threats. Just the silent collapse of affection when you cross invisible lines. You can feel it instantly. Her tone shifts. Her body language cools. Her smile fades into a polite shadow. You've been conditioned like Pavlov's subject, except your bell is her withdrawal. You'll tell yourself, she just needs reassurance. But reassurance is never enough, because the game isn't about resolution, it's about repetition. She doesn't seek closure, she seeks compliance. Every reassurance trains you to fear her sadness more than your own boundaries. You start anticipating guilt before she even speaks. You adjust preemptively. You stop doing things that might hurt her, even if she's never forbidden them. That's how control becomes self-regulation. Guilt's twin is fear. Not fear of violence or abandonment, but fear of disconnection. She never says, I'll leave you. She just makes you feel what it would be like if she did. A few hours of coldness. A distant stare. The dreaded phrase, I just need some space. You panic. You chase. You apologize for things you didn't do. You beg for clarity when the fog itself is the weapon. You don't realize that every reconciliation is a deeper hook. Because after every emotional storm comes the calm, the sweet relief of her warmth returning. Your body floods with dopamine, oxytocin, adrenaline. You mistake that chemical crash for passion. You call it make-up love. It's not love, it's the biological reward cycle of trauma bonding. The most refined manipulators never break you directly. They bend you slowly until you forget your shape. Each argument, each guilt trip, each tear-streaked silence is a thread. Individually they seem harmless. Together they weave a cage made of care. You start to believe that peace with her equals peace with yourself. But that's the lie. You're chasing peace in the wrong place. Real peace doesn't come from keeping someone calm, it comes from staying true to yourself. The moment you start lying to keep the love is already gone. She's learned to speak the language of your deepest insecurities. If your fear is not being good enough, she'll say, "I just wish you'd try harder." If your fear is being controlling, she'll say, "I feel like you're trying to limit me." If your fear is losing her, she'll say, "Maybe we're just not compatible." Each phrase is a scalpel cutting exactly where it hurts most. She doesn't need to raise her voice, she just needs to echo the voices in your own head. And here's the hardest truth to face. You train her too. Every time you rewarded her tears with attention, she learned that sadness equals control. Every time you backed down to avoid conflict, she learned that silence equals power. Every time you sacrificed your needs for her comfort, she learned that your boundaries were negotiable. The manipulator and the manipulated create each other. It's a dance and both partners play their part. You see, manipulation doesn't always come from malice. Sometimes it comes from survival. Many women learned early that emotional influence is safer than confrontation. That softness gets results where aggression doesn't. That vulnerability moves mountains faster than logic ever could. So they polish it, refine it, perfect it, until empathy becomes their most precise instrument of control. But intention doesn't erase consequence. The moment someone uses emotion to override truth, manipulation begins, even if they call it love. Even if they believe it's for the good of the relationship. And the tragedy is you'll keep participating. Because you don't see a manipulator. You see a woman you love. And that's what makes this form of control almost impossible to break. Because it uses the most sacred thing inside you as its fuel. She doesn't need power over you, she just needs power through you. She doesn't want dominance, she wants direction, and she wants you to think it's yours. You'll start to believe her suggestions were your ideas. You'll convince yourself it was your decision to change jobs, to stop seeing certain people, to stay home tonight instead of going out. You'll call it compromise, maturity, understanding. But what it really is compliance dressed as growth. Manipulation in its highest form is elegant. It doesn't destroy your ego. It feeds it just enough to keep you docile. She'll tell you you're strong, wise, grounded, and you'll act accordingly. Because no man wants to betray the image that makes him feel valuable. The more she flatters your sense of control, the less you actually have it. Here's how it looks in real time. You say no to something small. She goes quiet. You sense the drop in energy. You explain, justify, soften your tone. She still doesn't respond. You start apologizing, not for what you did but for how she feels. She finally smiles, hugs you, whispers, "See, that's why I love you, you always understand." You exhale, relieved. You think you resolved the issue. What you don't realize is, the issue was never the point. The reaction was. Now your nervous system knows exactly what to do next time to restore balance. Surrender. That's how control hides in connection. That's how men become prisoners in golden cages built from affection. By now you might wonder, how do you even escape this? You can't fight manipulation with anger. Anger feeds it. You can't reason with it. Logic doesn't penetrate emotion-based control. You can't fix it because fixing assumes cooperation. You can only do one thing, see it. Observation is liberation. When you stop reacting, the system starves. Her sighs lose their magic. Her silence stops echoing as punishment. Her tears stop triggering guilt, because you finally see them as signals, not truths. You step out of the emotional simulation. And for the first time, you breathe air that isn't filtered through her approval. You'll feel the withdrawal, make no mistake. Breaking emotional conditioning feels like detox. Your brain craves the validation it used to get from her warmth. You'll feel empty, uncertain, even guilty. But underneath that discomfort lies the first real freedom you've had in years. The moment you stop needing her peace to feel peaceful, you become untouchable. Not cold, conscious. Not distant, independent. You're no longer controlled by approval because you understand its cost. And when she realizes she can no longer move you with guilt, fear, or praise, she'll either evolve or she'll leave. That's the test. Because manipulation can't survive in the light of awareness. This is the truth men rarely speak aloud. Control doesn't always come from dominance. Sometimes it comes from care that's too conditional. From affection that demands obedience. From love that wants to rewrite your identity until it fits the script. But remember, no one can rewrite a man who refuses to hand over the pen. Stay alert. Stay aware. Because the softest touch can still steer the strongest soul. When awareness begins, it doesn't roar, it whispers. It doesn't arrive like a revolution. It slides into your mind quietly, like light seeping under a locked door. You start to see everything that used to feel normal for what it really was, a pattern. Predictable. Programmed. And that's when you realize, manipulation isn't about her power over you, it's about the parts of you that gave permission without knowing. The conditioning was subtle. Each compromise looked noble. Each silence looked mature. Each surrender looked like love. But underneath, you were losing fragments of yourself. You were performing peace, not living it. You were earning affection instead of being met with it. You weren't choosing, you were being chosen by the scripts written in someone else's fears. The first step out of that maze isn't to fight her. It's to face yourself. Ask the hard questions. Why was I so afraid of her disapproval? Why did I equate guilt with love? Why did I confuse calmness with control? You'll find the answers aren't about her at all. They're about the boy who learned that love must be earned. The man who thought protecting someone's emotions was proof of his worth. That's the real battlefield, the place inside you where manipulation found its entrance. Once you start detaching, everything feels wrong. Your body panics. It misses the rhythm of chaos. You mistake the absence of control for emptiness because you were addicted to emotional turbulence. You'll open your phone, scroll old messages, reread her words like a ritual. That's not love, that's withdrawal. You're detoxing from an illusion. The illusion that being needed meant being valued. The silence will tempt you. You'll want to re-engage just to feel something. Anything. But this time stay still. Watch the storm pass without stepping into it. Every time you resist the urge to fix, to explain, to chase, a new pattern forms in your brain. One made of calm, not compliance. Then comes clarity. You start noticing the smallest things. The tone she used when you disagreed. The timing of affection right after guilt. The phrases designed to confuse morality with obedience. You're not like other men. I just thought you'd understand. Don't be so sensitive. Each one is a code, and you've finally learned to read it. You'll begin to see the mechanics of control in real time. The moment you recognize it, the magic dies. Because manipulation only works in the dark. Once you see it, it stops being power, it becomes performance. You start to understand that control never existed, only persuasion disguised as care. As detachment deepens, you rediscover your voice. You speak less, but everything you say carries weight. You stop over-explaining. You stop defending your peace. You stop being afraid of being misunderstood. Your boundaries become calm statements instead of emotional battles. I won't discuss this now. I understand you're upset, but I'm not responsible for that feeling. No, that word, small, clean, final, becomes sacred again. At first, she won't know what to do with this new version of you. The silence won't pull you. The guilt won't move you. The tears won't hypnotize you. She'll test every old lever. The sigh. The withdrawal. The moral framing. And when each one fails, she'll sense the end of her control, not because you fought her but because you no longer respond on command. This moment is terrifying for both sides. For her, because she loses the predictable feedback loop that kept her secure. For you, because you step into an emotional space with no script. But this is where real connection either begins or dies. Because true intimacy requires equality, not management. You'll see now how manipulation isn't always malicious. Some women do it out of fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of insignificance, fear that love without control isn't real. But understanding her fear doesn't mean accepting her behavior. Compassion without boundaries becomes self-destruction. You can empathize with her story without reenacting it. So you stop analyzing her motives and start mastering your responses. That's where real power lies, not in control but in composure. When you remain calm in the face of chaos, you reclaim authority over your own nervous system. When you stop needing her reassurance, you stop being programmable. When your peace no longer depends on her mood, you become sovereign. This is where everything shifts. Because now, silence isn't punishment, it's space. Disagreement isn't danger, it's dialogue. Distance isn't rejection, it's rest. You start relating from a place of choice, not obligation. And when you meet love again, real love, you'll recognize it instantly. It won't come with tests. It won't make you shrink. It won't demand your loyalty as proof of obedience. It won't trade validation for freedom. We'll feel steady, calm, unconditional. You'll realize that what you used to call passion was actually anxiety. What you used to call connection was dependency. What you used to call love was control wearing a halo. Real love won't need to manipulate your perception. It will invite your authenticity. It will say, come as you are, not as I need you to be. It will challenge you without wounding you. It will correct you without shaming you. It will stand beside you, not above you. And here's the revelation that seals the transformation. You cannot be manipulated by someone who no longer defines your value. The only reason control worked was because you outsourced your worth. Once you reclaim it, every tactic collapses. No sigh can guilt you. No silence can scare you. No praise can purchase your compliance. You become untouchable, not because you've closed your heart, but because you've opened your eyes. Freedom doesn't mean rejecting love. It means refusing to confuse love with emotional obedience. It means walking beside someone, not beneath them. It means staying because you want to, not because you have to. And maybe one day she'll understand too. Maybe she'll see how her own fears shaped the cage she built. Maybe she'll heal the same way you did, by seeing herself clearly. Because awareness is contagious. When one person awakens, the illusion that held both collapses. Until then, carry your awareness quietly. Don't preach it. Don't prove it. Just live it. Your calm will speak louder than any lecture. Your steadiness will teach more than any warning. Your peace will expose the chaos in others without you saying a word. That's what mastery looks like. Not power over others, but power over self. Not control, but consciousness. So stay alert. Stay awake. Stay sovereign. Because the most effective manipulation in the world only works when you can't see it. And the moment you do, it dies, quietly, instantly, completely.